All right, all right. What's going on, family? Peace and shalom, peace and shalom. It's your brother Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries back in the building. I'm not going to stay before you too long because I had a real hectic day. As you can see from the title, this has drastically impacted my work schedule and my workload on today, and also a little bit personally as well. If anybody here has been watching the news and watching the headlines, you know exactly what I'm referring to. Maybe some of you don't. So what I'm going to do is provide a little bit of information, and then I'm going to propose a rhetoric question and see what your feedback is on that. All right. Now, how does this intertwine into kingdom work, ministry, the Most High, Israelite culture? It does a lot because without redundancy or a contingency plan, when these things happen, it would adversely affect your livelihood and those of your family and friends, society, and government, right? So this is very important. Only reason why I'm speaking about on it is because I have been directly impacted by it with the companies that I work for as an independent IT contractor, as well as my own personal servers, right? So I've been impacted by this, and I've been following it closely because that's all work involved with today for one of the companies I work for. So I work for 3 different companies. 2 of them were impacted by it. One wasn't. And the one of the ones that were impacted, this was all they was talking about all day. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give a second for a little more people to come in. Again, I'm not gonna stay too long. I just wanted to get this out before the day was over, since this is trending, what's going on right now, and this can adversely impact the kingdom work that we do for the Most High. And we have to start drumming up contingency plans. All right. All right. With that being said, I'm gonna go over what the CrowdStrike is, and the Falcon platform. Then I'm gonna give you a quick burp about what's going on in regards to the news, and then we could take a look at a quick interview with the CEO of CrowdStrike, and then I'm gonna give a little bit of feedback on all of that. All right, how it impacted me personally, and what can we do as a community moving forward. Right. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Okay. So I'm pulling this directly from CrowdStrike's website, so that way I can just give you a quick skinny on what it is. It's a little bit more detailed, but we're going to try to keep it, I guess, surface level for people who don't understand a lot of IT jargon. So I'm trying to be careful with my words. But let's read it. All right. It says, what does CrowdStrike Falcon do? Falcon is the CrowdStrike platform purpose-built to stop breaches via a unified set of cloud-delivered technologies that prevent all types of attacks, including malware and much more. Today's sophisticated attackers are going beyond malware to breach organizations, increasing relying on exploits, 0 days, and hard-to-detect methods such as credential theft and tools that are already part of the victim's environment or operating system, such as PowerShell. And I use this at work, right? PowerShell, which is a Windows-based scripting uh, protocol that you use via a specific command prompt system within Microsoft, right? So CrowdStrike Falcon responds to those challenges with a powerful yet lightweight solution that unifies next generation antivirus (NGAV), endpoint detection and response, cyber threat intelligence, managed threat hunting capabilities, and security hygiene, all contained in a tiny single lightweight sensor that is cloud managed and delivered. All right. So that's so you can know a little bit about it. So pretty much what it does is that you have what's called cloud-based, what we normally would know as anti-malware software, which means that the actual software itself has a small, lightweight app that resides on your computer, but the bulk of the processing is done offline on a server somewhere outside of your home, and outside of your control, right? And pretty much how cloud anti-malware works is that because the applet is on millions of computers, when a particular computer gets breached, hacked, or whatever the case may be, a definition is generated of that security issue and it's sent directly to the cloud. And when it gets to the cloud, a generation of code is created, processed, and then is distributed to all other computers that are connected to that cloud server, right? And that's one way that you can respond instantly, is that when with one breach somewhere, you can immediately respond by shielding and protecting all the other computers that are connected to this cloud-based next generation antivirus, okay? And this is something that I used in the personal space, something called Panda Cloud years ago. I used to use that, and that's when I first learned about this cloud-based antivirus. And it's great because, you know, it helps you with zero-day attacks. When something happens immediately, there's an immediate response and protection is given, right? Whereas with the old school antivirus applications, you have to wait to download a definition update, so that way the profiles of new types of malware that's detected can now go into your locally or domestic hosted antivirus application on your computer. And then a computer can then respond by either searching for these things with the regular scan or scheduled scan that you create, or a manual scan, right? So this is the next generation in regards to antivirus software, and that's pretty much how it works. Now, what happened in the case of this CrowdStrike outage? And they call it an outage, and they termed it that way. Was there a cybersecurity attack? No, there wasn't. There was no cybersecurity attack. So what happened was that there is a file that is sent out, what they call a content file that's sent out, that has some information that pertains to how the lightweight application resides on the computer, right? So again, you still have an application on the computer, right? It's streamlined, it's lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of CPU resources, and it needs this content file in order for it to perform, right? The application for the perform. So what happened was a content file only to Windows devices. So if there was a Mac OS or Linux, any servers, computers on those operating systems were not affected. Only Windows users were affected. That content file went out, and the content file created an issue with the application. And what happens is, if that application goes down, the assumption is that the computer is pretty much open or vulnerable to attack. So therefore, measures are taking place where some users get a blue screen of death and their computer never boots up. And some users were speaking about going to safe mode, which is a totally different way to enter into your operating system to address issues like malware, corruption, etc. This content file that was pushed down, it created an issue with the app that resides on the computers natively that communicate to the cloud. And because of such, it affects the actual app itself and therefore affects the platform, right? Now, when this happens, it can cause a security vulnerability, definitely, but it can also affect just using the operating system itself, okay? Now, this comes straight from the CEO, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this screen so you can see. I'm going to switch over real quick. And this is a very brief insight into it, but there's a video in which the CEO speaks. It says businesses worldwide grappled with an ongoing major IT outage Friday as financial services and doctor offices were disrupted, while some TV broadcasters went offline. Air travel has been hit particularly hard, with planes grounded, services delayed, and airports issuing advice to passengers. Now, let me explain this a little bit. So I work for 3 different companies, right? And I'm not going to tell you what companies I work for, but I work for 3 different companies. And one of the companies that I work for is in the travel retail industry, right? Which means that they operate in airports. Another one is in the hospitality industry, and they work, and they're a huge hotel chain, company. And then the other company I work with is in the food and beverage industry, right? So I'm working in 3 different industries, right? The food and beverage industry in regards to restaurant dining and quick serve, and then I'm working in the travel retail industry in airports, and then I also work in the hotel or hospitality industry with a major I would say hotel that almost everybody knows of. And I work in all 3, right? So the one in the airports, they were adversely affected. Um, the reason why is because CrowdStrike works with tons of corporations, including government agencies. They work with even some broadcasters. So some broadcasting stations were taken down. Some flights had to be canceled because, again, this is all on the computers that they're using, right? So the company I work for in the hospitality industry was adversely affected, in the hotel chain industry, and then also in the travel retail industry, right? So they were affected, right? So that's how it directly impacted me and generated a ton of stress today that had to be managed and facilitated. It says the outage came as cybersecurity giant CrowdStrike experienced a major disruption early Friday following an issue with their recent tech update. CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz has since said the company is actively working with customers impacted by defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts, stressing that Mac and Linux hosts are not affected. This is not a security incident or cyber attack. Keep that in mind, because there are fear mongers out there that will have you believe that this was a cyber attack and generate an entire conspiracy theory behind it. All right. The issue has been identified, isolated, and the fix has been deployed, he said on social media. One expert suggested it may be the largest IT outage in history. And that is debatable, but it looks like it could be. So this is what he said, the CEO on his website. I mean, on X, he says CrowdStrike is actively working with customers impacted by a defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts. Mac and Linux hosts are not impacted. This is not a security incident or cyber attack. The issue has been identified, isolated, and the fix has been deployed. We refer customers to the support portal for the latest updates and will continue to provide complete and continuous updates on our website. We further recommend organizations, you probably can't see this. That's crazy. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. It says we refer customers to the support portal for the latest updates and will continue to provide complete and continuous updates on our website. We further recommend organizations ensure they're communicating with CrowdStrike representatives through official channels. Our team is fully mobilized to ensure the security and stability of CrowdStrike customers, right? And then all these other questions come out and so forth like that, right? People are responding to it because people are affected for it, right? And this guy is making a joke. It's really not a joke. It hurt a lot of people's, not only businesses, but a lot of regular people, like that are going to hotels or that are flying and traveling, or in other genres as well, such as like government services and stuff, was all impacted, right? So this is what's going on, right? Again, it's not a cybersecurity attack, so just keep that in mind, all right? Now, with that being said, how does that impact us? So it impacted me because I had to work with these companies to help facilitate implementation of a fix, so that way there's a contingency. And one of the companies I work for did not have a contingency for this, right? And that made me realize that, wow, we are so inextricably connected to this society and this way of life, technologically speaking, that if there is one issue like this, it impacts our entire lives, as far as travel, as far as hotel stay, government services. If you work for a corporation that's been impacted. So it is impacting us, right? And to the point where it can impact some people detrimentally. So my suggestion is this, right? This is why it's good to get into off-grid living and into homesteading, and to have alternatives, redundancies. And redundancies, I mean that if you have anything on your computer, you should have everything backed up on some other form of media in the event that your computer is compromised, that your data is safe. All right. And I can make a couple of suggestions for that probably on another show, because this one's coming to an end. But that's very important, right? Redundancy is important, and contingency. So after you're compromised or an exploit happens, what do you do next, right? So in the IT industry, I've been a solutions engineer for years. And I worked for several different agencies as an independent contractor. So I know a thing or two about redundancy and contingency plans, right? Especially as a solutions engineer, this is one thing that you have to look at the architecture and say, okay, if this point fails, the trunk point here, what do we do, right? So I like to take that knowledge and understanding and apply it to this walk, right? And the thing is that at any given time, your life can be disrupted while living carnally in this society. Your life can be disrupted. The key thing is that when we have a secular disruption, what is our redundancy and contingency plan, right? So the contingency plan is when something happens, what do we do? The most important thing is for us to know that there are things that are going to and supposed to happen to us. So we must prepare. So in the physical, we prepare by learning how to do off-grid living, having redundancy and backing up all our important files, finding a way to take that data and be able to transfer and share it with one another. That's off of the major networks, etc. There's ways to do that, right? And this is one way that we can have a contingency plan and redundancy. Another way is that we say, yeah, this is your will. Your will be done in earth as it is in heaven. In earth as it is in heaven. If this is happening, this is meant to happen. Why are you going to kick against the prick? We accept it. While the world is in disarray, we should be at shalom. We should be at peace. And we should say, yeah, I put my trust in you. I don't put my confidence in man. So once we understand this and we accept it, then we are not in disarray like the whole world. See, my job, that's not my company. I'm a contractor, so they bring me in to work with the company. It's not my company, so it's not directly impacting me because I'm going to get paid regardless. You know what I'm saying? But to those who are fully invested, like full-time workers, VP staff, C-level staff, directors, people got pensions, stuff like that, it's going to adversely affect them. And if something happened financially and they lost all their money, then they would be in serious trouble. With me, the Most High says, store your treasures up in heaven. So granted, I do have a backup plan for the contingency of my family in the event that something happens financially, economically, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I invest in people. And when you invest in people, when the time comes and everything fails, the Most High is going to see that those same people invest in you and look out for you. I've been there, done that, and it works. Okay. So with that being said, with all the commotion that's going on in the world, and they're distracted and disarray from politics to this CrowdStrike outage to celebrity gossip, what are you doing? Do you have peace in the midst of the storm? Or do you see yourself getting caught up and intertwined with cares of everyday life like everybody else? So with that being said, family, much love to you all, right? We'll talk in the future in regards to ways that we can protect ourselves in regards to technology and how we can protect ourselves in regards to having contingency with off-grid living, and then how we can protect ourselves spiritually from secular attacks and outages. When an outage happens, that means there's no more service. Sometimes we'll have the cares of this world, and sometimes we'll have spiritual attacks that will cause an outage in our spiritual life, where we don't see Yah. We don't hear a word from Yah. There's a disruption in our connection with Yah. And this is why we need to develop these redundancy and contingency plans. And when we do these things, then we can always go back into the reservoir of our memories for what Yah has done with us in the past. And during this time, it's a test to see if the student is living up to the standards of what was taught by the teacher. Very important. So keep these things in mind. All right. Much love to you, family. There's going to be no official Freestyle Friday today, but stay tuned next week. I'm going to try to go live twice next week. Y'all willing. We're going to try to get my momentum back to start getting the classes back up and running, because I know a lot of y'all waiting for the classes, and there's tons of other stuff. I'm working actually on a video right now on the ontology of the serpent in the garden, because I hear a lot of things going around about that. There was a discussion on Clubhouse that kind of awoken this idea to me to actually speak on. I've shared some insight on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, sign up for Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. So when I drop the video, you'll get to see it. It's going to be a 2 or 3 part series. I'm doing the first part dealing with the textual data and trying to surmise what the textual data says in regards to the ontology, the existence, the nature of this serpent in the Garden of Eden, and it's not what people think it is. And then in the second part, we're going to go through the myths, the histories, the epics, everything that the folklore that contributed to this idea of who the serpent is. And we're going to dispel all of that. All right. So stay tuned. Sign up for the Patreon. Support this ministry, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect, or you can purchase a product from us or patronize one of our services. It's in the description below. And if there's anything that we can do to help serve you and serve you better, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. Much love to you all. Peace and shalom. Shalom, family.